This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Well, what is going on, good people? Happy Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Here on Bleav in Pro Wrestling, Rick Ucchino, SP3, with you guys for the next 45 minutes or so. And compared to last week, SP3, it's kind of quiet. A little quiet on the Western Front. I like legitimately had to send you a message this morning going, I don't know. What do you want to lead with today? Like, there just wasn't a clear-cut lead. But you know what? Well, I'm actually okay with it. Like, I'm always rooting for stuff to talk about. I just feel like, especially for the last several weeks, it's just been a little too much. It was nice to just have like a peaceful week, you know, just watch some wrestling and, hey, let's talk about what actually happened instead of fist fights backstage. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. You know, you're kind of over the sexual misconduct allegations and this person going to this promotion, this person fighting this person backstage, this person hates this person. So you got a nice calm day following Monday Night Raw on this Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate everybody who's joining us in on the chat. We will get to all of your comments and questions. What's going on, Steven and Queen and Frantic World and Ozzy? Yeah, hey, what can I have? Shit happens. All right, you know, when you don't play your starters in the preseason, you get 4 turnovers in the first half. That's what happens. They played better in the second half. Should have won. If their long snapper didn't get hurt, the Bengals would have beat the Steelers over the weekend. I'm very confident in saying that. They'll bounce back this weekend.
We blaming a long snapper now? We blaming a long snapper now?
I'm blaming the long snapper.
You scraping the bottom of the barrel for excuses here, sir.
Look, man. The long snapper gets no credit. All right. You don't notice how valuable they are until they ain't there. And then you got to have your third string tight end snapping the ball, and it's coming out going like a half mile an hour, floating on back to the punter as he can set it out, or he snaps it 20 feet in the air. There's a lot of reasons they lost that game. I'm choosing to blame the long snapper because it makes me feel better. They'll be all right, Ozzy. Don't worry. The Bengals will be all right. We're not here to talk about the Bengals. And yes, Ozzy, I agree. I think they will beat the Cowboys, mostly because Dak Prescott isn't playing. Anywho, regardless, we're not here to talk about the NFL, the NBA, all of that. Although, if you want to dive into that, we can do this real quick. Bet online. We wouldn't be here without them. They're the fastest, easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Get reviews and news for every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting to props and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today. Use your mobile device to join. Make your first bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50, BLEAV50. I'll say that again because I went really fast. BLEAV50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Do still have a lot to get into today. A new tweet out from WrestleVotes. Again, very reliable source online, says the WWE finds himself in a complex situation with their world title picture. A pickle they find themselves in, according to WrestleVotes, or at least they believe that they are in a pickle. But man, there sure seems to be a lot of answers out there on the internet. We will talk about that. Stemming off of said pickle with WWE Creative, I asked a question which I thought had a really, really good pun to it about Roman Reigns and his potential match at WrestleMania. We'll talk about that. Damage Control won the tag team championships last night, which makes beg the damn question, why did Aaliyah and Raquel win them in the first place? We'll talk about that. Ronda Rousey's the new #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which goes directly against everything that she kind of talked about last week, which I wish we had time to get into last week. But we got time this week, so I'm going to bring it up. We'll talk about Ronda Rousey and her shot at Liv Morgan at Extreme Rules. Judgment Day, heavily featured on the show last week, just a week after I thought they might be dead in the water. And we have 2 big semifinals matchups tomorrow night, AEW to determine the new world champion. We'll talk about all of that. But SP3, internet lost their damn minds when somebody reported, just throwing it on out there somewhere, that the Young Bucks currently suspended by AEW after everything that went down. Still current EVPs with the company as far as we know. We're testing the waters a little bit, sending out some feelers out there into the universe with WWE. Of course, when they were negotiating back in 2018, they were negotiating heavily with, remind me whom again? Was that Triple H?
Triple H, yeah, in 2018. Yeah.
Who's in charge of creative now in WWE? Remind me again. Who's
Triple
that?
H.
Yeah, Triple H. Yeah. Okay, so I connect the dots here a little bit. Of course, the Young Bucks did have an option that was picked up, so their contracts are set to expire in 2024. Now, of course, since these initial rumors started hitting the old internets, you've had reports from Fightful and Wrestling Observer saying that these either aren't true or have been unconfirmed, and the fact that the Young Bucks constantly talk to people within WWE because, well, they have friends inside of WWE. I mean, they are professional wrestlers. It's brotherhood. You're going to have friends and enemies and all these different companies and everything like that. But SP3, I ask you a question. If you are a year to 18 months out of your contract expiring, is it really that big of a deal if you are kicking the tires with another company? I'm not saying you're starting negotiations or anything like that, but I think it would behoove you to do some investigative research to figure out what your value on the open market would be, would it not? This should go for every single profession out there, not just professional wrestling. What was your make on the reports? Is this just trying to throw gasoline on the fire of everything that happened last week that now all of a sudden this is hitting the internet? And is it that big of a deal?
It's definitely a big deal because these are the EVPs of the company. These are the guys that founded All Elite Wrestling. If it wasn't for the Young Bucks, there would be no second biggest promotion in North America. So don't even allude to the fact that you think that this is not a big deal, because you were one of the people that also didn't think it was a big deal that Cody Rhodes was a free agent in January, and you see how that turned up. This is definitely a big deal.
Okay, hold on. Time out. I genuinely don't remember what I said back in January. I genuinely don't.
Let me help you.
I'm not saying I'm not wrong. I'm just saying I don't remember. I legit don't remember.
I never said you did. I'm saying I remember. You were one of the people that said it wasn't that big of a deal. That, of course, Cody Rhodes is going to re-sign with WWE. You said, with AEW. You were like, of course, you wanted to see it because that would cause more news, and you love your headlines. But you, like everyone else, didn't think it was a big deal that he was a free agent or that his contract expired with AEW. So the fact that the Young Bucks, 18 months before their contracts expire with AEW, is already sending out feelers, like the Triple H being in charge has turned even their head. It is definitely a big deal. Do I think it happened? No. Because a lot of this story doesn't sound that confounded. The fact that this was, Fightful, having to try to update this report or confirm this report. It came from someone on the Figure 4 online message board, Ryan Frederick, who does know people in AEW, who does have ties to MMA. So, I'm not trying to, badmouth the validity of his report, but it just doesn't sound that legit to me. Why would the Young Bucks have an intermediary between themselves and Triple H if they negotiated with Triple H in 2018? That doesn't make any sense at all. And why would you do it 18 months out? That's what all the people in the company were saying, that MJF was wrong for doing it. So why would the EVPs of the company then do that? So a lot of this sounds murky. It doesn't sound for sure. It's definitely a big deal if it is true, but the only part of what you said that I do agree with is that just about anybody, when it gets close to your contract expiring, so if your contract expires into 2024, if you're starting to act in January 2023, that makes sense. 18 months ahead, no one should be doing that, because that is either contract tampering on the company you are sending feelers to, or the contract tampering on your part.
Now I still don't buy that, right? Because it's always good to know where your value stands at any specific time, excuse me, right? So they may be, it's what, September now? If it's the end of 2024, yeah, we're looking at roughly about 15 months out or so. Who knows when contract negotiations really start? I don't know because I've never had a damn contract. I'd love to get into some contract negotiations one day, but I've never had one, right? So I don't know exactly how those work out, but I do know it is always smart to know what your value is at any given time. So if Tony Khan comes around and say, oh, I don't know, February of next year, maybe if the Young Bucks are back by then, they are still suspended right now. So, I mean, who knows what any of that situation is. But if TK comes back and says, oh, hey, look, you know, let's talk, let's get the wheel spinning on contract negotiations. Well, you already know kind of where you were as far as just a couple of months ago. So I think it's nice to have that in your back pocket. I do agree with you, though. Why have the middleman? You don't need the middleman. I'm pretty sure you have Triple H on speed dial. Just call his ass up, right? Like that's what, and that's why I'm not really buying so much into the report, and that's what doesn't add up to me. The time frame, that's fine. All right, for me, that's fine. It's always great to know where your worth is, especially when you're talking about the biggest company in the world with WWE. Always good to know that.
Thank God you're not a professional athlete or an agent or a manager, because you would get your clients freaking sued and they would lose all their money because you're like, oh no, you can go, sure, Tom Brady, sure, Tom Brady, yeah, you got 2 years left on your deal. Go talk to the New England Patriots about coming back to end your career. That's contract tampering. That's why it's not a good look to do it that far in advance.
Are you talking about the NFL where there's actually such a thing? I'm
talking about anything regarding contracts. That's what we are talking about here.
Don't sit here and act like there isn't under the table dealing in every profession in the world. Don't sit here and tell me. I
am saying that you just chose the stupidest way to do this. The Young Bucks are friends with Cody Rhodes, who just signed a contract 6 months ago. You want to find out how much they're going to offer you? How about this? Cody, how much they offer you? Cool. That's all you need to do.
Exactly. That's why I don't believe the story. That's why I don't believe the story. I agreed with you there, but to actually, if you are going to throw out a feeler, I have no problem with the timetable. That's all I'm saying. I got no problem with the timetable whatsoever. You're a year to 15 months out. That's fine with me because you know negotiations are going to start up soon, or maybe they're not. We still don't know what the huge fallout of all of this is going to be. Are the Young Bucks still EVPs with the company? Maybe. We don't know. We don't know what the fallout of this is going to be. I don't believe the report that they were talking to middlemen and this, that, and the other thing and sending out feelers because they know people. I'm just saying I agree with the time frame. If you're going to, find out, it's always good to check in on every couple of months. See what's going on.
And you keep saying the wrong thing. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. It matters to the people that legally deal with contracts. That's the issue here. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
That's why it's called under the table dealing. You don't let those people know
like I said, there's a right way to do it. There's a right way to sell drugs and to not get arrested. And then there's the way to walk out your house and get arrested or shot. And that's what Rick Ucchino is suggesting to professional wrestlers dealing with contracts.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's good to know your worth. And if there's somebody you trust where you can kind of figure that out, I'm just saying this happens in a lot of different professions. That's all I'm saying. Queen asking, is it messed up that I kind of would want them to go to WWE? That's a completely different question. I'm all for chaos and the bouncing of rosters back and forth, because so far we've only had the one big fish, which is Cody Rhodes going from AEW to WWE. No one really kind of saw that one coming, which would probably be why I said back in January, it ain't no big deal that he's a free agent. Plus, let's not remember when that did spew out. He was the TNT champion at the time, which might have been a reason why I said it ain't that big of a deal right now. Tony Khan obviously trusts his talent, and then 4 months later, here we are. Boom, he's debuting at WrestleMania. So would you want to see? That's a good question. Would you want to see the Young Bucks go to WWE? It's a new era. little bit more of a focus on tag team wrestling. At least maybe we'll see. It's definitely picked up as far as other championships are concerned. But then again, Braun Strowman did decimate 4 of the damn tag teams in the division just last week. So maybe not. Is that something you would like to see? Because Jim Cornette, somebody who obviously has his finger on the pulse of professional wrestling these days, says that the Young Bucks would not succeed in WWE. Is that something that, one, do you think they would? And two, would you want to see him over there?
Man, it's quite obvious that the Young Bucks would succeed if they went to WWE. Even if WWE doesn't focus on tag team wrestling too much, you would think that they're signing the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are probably going to win WWE Tag Team Gold. And in a lot of people's minds, I'm not one of these people, but in a lot of people's minds, if you win a championship in WWE, you're successful. You succeeded. So that's literally how far down the bar is at this point. So I think the Young Bucks could successfully just skip over that bar. Do I want to see them in WWE? That's a very complicated question. If they leave AEW, I think that would be the most significant defection of AEW, even bigger than Kenny Omega, even bigger than Cody Rhodes. I think the Young Bucks leaving. Young Bucks have always kind of been that symbol, in the wrestlers' terms of kind of do it yourself and doing it without the machine of WWE, whether they were in PWG, Ring of Honor, TNA, the New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's always what they've been like. And then them creating AEW just added their legacy and definitely put them in. I don't care if you like or you hate or love their style, they're a top 10 greatest tag team of all time just because of how influential they were with making AEW. So for them to go to WWE feels so against everything they've told us, and I've already been through this with Cody, going back on everything he's told us. I don't know if I could deal with the Young Bucks, but as far as just me as a wrestling fan, yeah, for sure I would love to see it, because I would love to see Young Bucks versus the Usos. I was alive at a Hammerstein ballroom 15 years ago watching the Young Bucks versus Kevin Steen and El Generico. So I would love to see them verse again with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I would love to see them versus the Street Profits. Love to see them versus the New Day. The list of dream matches and how much they would elevate that tag team division makes me very interested in seeing the Young Bucks in WWE. But as far as what they mean to the business as a whole, that's what stops me from saying 100%. Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at, because I agree with everything you just said, but I would also be really frightened at what that move would mean for AEW as a whole, because AEW right now is already on shaky ground, right? Like we talked about it ad nauseum last week. This is a fork in the road for Tony Khan. He's got to navigate this properly, because he can either, pull the Shawshank, right, where he crawls through a river of shit and comes out cleaner on the other side, or he's going to get trapped in a tube of shit and drown. This is if AEW ultimately, and God forbid, if they flail and fail out of this, we're going to look back at All Out in Chicago as the starting point, the beginning of the end. All right, that's where the documentary, The Rise and Fall of AEW, is going to start. It's going to be All Out in Chicago. I don't want that to happen. I think Tony Khan has, like I talked about last week, and like I wrote about in Cage Side Seats, I think he has a huge opportunity here to really kind of, even with his major talent out, 4 of his top superstars out for God knows how long. We know Punk's injured for at least 8-9 months, if he ever comes back to AEW at this point. You still have a myriad of talent that you could push and thrive and build new stars with. So he has the opportunity to do that. And it all starts on who he's going to pick to be his next world champion. And we'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. But yeah, man, if the Young Bucks, even if they do come back to AEW and they have a successful run for a year, I don't know what that means for AEW, how that puts them on shaky ground. Now, if they're just competitors and they're no longer EVPs at that point, maybe things have subsided. Maybe, the company has got the new leadership in place and things like that. But yeah, man, I don't know what that means for AEW for them to go over and leave to WWE. Do I want to see all the dream matches? Yes, but I would be a little bit afraid of what that ultimately means for the competition because, like I said last week, AEW needs to thrive. They need to survive. They create jobs, they create competition, and all of that is good for professional wrestling. So we need them around. I'm not saying they're close to death. They're not. They just got really punched in the face here this past week or so. And Tony Khan has got to corral the troops and get shit together and figure out who his leadership figures are. I think a lot of those people stepped up last week, both on screen and behind the scenes. Now it's all about picking a world champion, which we'll talk about coming up here in a little bit. Speaking of world title situations, WWE. Don't know if you noticed this guy named Roman Reigns. He has been the undisputed Universal Champion for a few months now, held on to the Universal title specifically for well over 2 years now. And he's not going to lose anytime soon. If that wasn't evident enough that they weren't going to put the belt on Drew McIntyre Clash at the Castle, do we really think anybody's going to beat him anytime soon? But now this creates a problem because, according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, WWE would like to have 2 separate champions again, but they don't want Roman Reigns to lose anytime soon because he's probably going to be fighting The Rock at WrestleMania. They don't want him to lose ahead of that match with The Rock. So how do you split the titles? They themselves, according to WrestleVotes, call this a very complex situation, SP3. Are you buying that? Is this a complex situation where you want to split the belts, but you don't want Roman to lose? They're apparently open to all ideas. What ideas do you have to offer them?
I mean, this is once again a self-fulfilling prophecy of making it complex. It's only complex because you allow it to make it complex. All you have to do, triple threat match for one title, first fall for the one title, second fall for the next title. If you want to take both titles off of Roman, if you want to keep a title on Roman, you make the first fall, the wrestler B pins wrestler C. They win the WWE Championship, and then Roman beats wrestler B in the second fall to retain the Universal Championship. So then you get everything you want. You don't want Roman to lose, and you want Roman to win and look strong. He looks strong. He retains the Universal Championship. It's pretty that simple, but this is a self-fulfilling prophecy because they did not need to do the title versus title match to begin with at WrestleMania. They just wanted to make a match that they have exhausted ad nauseum more interesting.
Yeah, and look, and now remember, old regime, old head of creative, had that big idea. Remember, by the way, like this all started at day one when we launched this program. Our first show was the day one recap, which, by the way, thank you everybody who has joined us for this ride over the last 9 months or so. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, we are here talking professional wrestling with you. This started back in January when Reigns got COVID, and then they decided to insert Brock Lesnar into the WWE Championship match and put that belt on him, and then had no plan after that. It was reactionary, it was panic, and then it was let's navigate the minefield creatively that this has led to us now to WrestleMania, where you had that title for title match, and then boom, now all of a sudden everything is unified, and they booked themselves into a corner. By the way, it was a year ago today that Big E cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase and beat Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. And yeah, man, should have been WWE Champion way past day one. But I digress. So this is now Triple H having to come up with an idea to fix something that the old man did. And honestly, yeah, it could be something as simple as, all right, we'll set up a triple threat match. It's a 2 out of 3 falls match because we want to split them up. Or honestly, the best idea that I've seen online that I think is simple without WWE just flat out saying, hey, look, we want 2 world titles again, is what Bell said. Seth Rollins or whomever, ladder match, they both grab a belt. Adam Pearce decides to split them. I think that Yes,
That's
I think
awful.
that's the best. I think that's the best
That's
idea.
awful.
That's the easiest idea.
The best idea is the 2-fall matchup because a Roman wins and you take the title off of them. That is so. Bell, I appreciate you. Watching the show. I appreciate all your support. But I just think that's an awful idea. That craps on the finish. That's gonna get fans to boo the finish and not. It's not gonna be like, oh my god, what are they gonna do now? It's gonna be boo, boo. You gave us a ladder match where both guys win. Boo.
Hey, it's a hell of a lot better than a Hell in a Cell match where nobody wins, which they've done before.
Stop comparing it to more awful ideas. It doesn't make it better. It's just you're just grouping it with another awful idea. It's not making it a better idea by putting it next to an awful idea. That's just being like, oh, there's a big piece of shit and there's a little piece of shit. Great.
Here's what I will say, right? Do we really need Roman Reigns as a champion anyway heading into WrestleMania? Is that something that absolutely needs to happen? Does The Rock and Roman Reigns need to be for a world championship? The answer is no.
No.
It doesn't at all. So why is this even an obstacle? If you can't figure out a way that you like to split up the championships, then just take the damn belt off of Roman, because the story shouldn't be that Roman is this unstoppable monster and now here comes his 51-year-old cousin to take him out because he thinks his britches are getting too big. No, that shouldn't be it at all. You should be taking the title off of Roman Reigns immediately so you can begin the build back up. This should be the WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles. If you can get him versus The Rock, that should be the culmination of his comeback, not another dominant win of what will now be a 2.5-year title reign. Who gives a shit? It should all be about the family. It should be Roman Reigns' position as the head of the table to be able to carry the family and carry the next generations of little Usos and all this stuff should be coming to question, where the fact that Roman is no longer the champion, he's no longer this unstoppable monster, and now there's dissension amongst the ranks, which should be caused, by the way, by Sami Zayn. Like, that should be the end story where he's the one who ends up, upsetting the apple cart. There's already a rivalry budding there with him and Jey Uso. That needs to happen. That needs to be the culmination of that story, and Roman Reigns taking over again as the head of the table after beating the old lion who came back to take the seat that used to be his. Because here's another obstacle you have. If you only have one championship, what do you do with the Royal Rumble? Because that means either The Rock has to win the Royal Rumble, or once again, for the second year in a row, SP3, the Royal Rumble becomes an obstacle that you have to work your way around other than being an event. And that shouldn't be the case. So I will ask you this as soon as I play this.
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
If it wasn't going to be Drew, then who? Was the question that I asked you last week. And I think the consensus #1 overall selection was going to be Cody Rhodes. You have to set it up now for Cody to be the guy that beats Roman Reigns. The clear path there, the easiest path there. Yeah, I also think Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins could be options as well, but I would rather 100% make a guy, have him his world title win. I know.
That's the thing. That's the thing. The Cody win does not make him.
If you can make Cody Rhodes' first WWE championship win as big as possible, I think you do it. And if Roman Reigns is undefeated 2.5 years and you beat him in the main event of WrestleMania, I think that makes it huge. And yes, it does make him the top star in the company at that point. I think so. At least that's what you want to portray to your audience. But again, I digress. Let's say they can't figure out a way that they can split the championships, so they keep one on Roman. If you can only book one match for Roman Reigns, are you choosing Rocky, or are you choosing Rhodes, or are you choosing another flavor there, SP3?
It's definitely Rocky. 100 times on Tuesday. I saw your poll on Twitter and a whole bunch of fans who are into the fan thing, the hardcore wrestling fan. They want to see Cody. It's not going to be about ending Roman Reigns' dominant run if Cody is the person that ends it. It will always be about Cody's win more than Roman losing. And that's not how you make a guy. How you make a guy is by him beating somebody and always remembering that. People will remember Cody winning the championship. They won't always remember the guy who held the title for 2.5 years before he won it. That's not how this works. One is going to be elevated more than the other. Shawn Michaels' boyhood dream coming true at WrestleMania 12. Do they talk about Bret Hart's reign where he beat Diesel at Survivor Series before that, or versus The Undertaker at the Royal Rumble? No, because it was about Shawn Michaels winning the championship.
But this is
Do
a
they
reign
talk about? Do they talk about Shawn? What happened?
This is a reign. Whoa, God, I got things dropping on me. This is a type of reign that we haven't seen in quite some time. We're talking about
I will give you, you interrupted me. I'll give you the two other reigns that is most comparable to in the modern era. The Rock ending CM Punk's 434-day reign. We remember the 434-day reign, but we also remember it ending flatly because they chose the wrong guy to end the reign. With Brock Lesnar's 500-day plus Universal Championship reign and Roman Reigns beat it. You would think that would have been the win that set Roman Reigns up. No one cared because they waited too long to do it. It was the right guy, but they chose the wrong time. And what I'm saying is that Cody Rhodes is the right guy at the wrong time. If this was a Roman Reigns run that was a year in, that was a year and a half in, yeah, sure, Cody Rhodes should win it. But that doesn't make him. Cody Rhodes' legacy is set in stone. This man is a former Ring of Honor champion, a former NWA World Heavyweight champion, multi-time. Just on WWE alone, if you compare him to other Hall of Famers, he has a Hall of Fame resume even right now without winning the WWE Championship. Multi-time Intercontinental Champion or multi-time Tag Team Champion. He's been in all these big matches, whether it's against Seth Rollins. His first main event was against D-Generation X, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels back in 2009. He is set in stone. He's already a WWE Hall of Famer. What does this really do? It elevates him and gives him this prize that he always wanted to win. Thus, why it's about his win. It's not about who he beats. Cody, that's why a couple of months back, all the same people that are probably voting and saying Cody Rhodes should be the guy that ends Roman Reigns' run is the same people before Money in the Bank that was like, Seth Rollins should win Money in the Bank, cash in on Roman Reigns, because yeah, Seth Rollins being Roman Reigns really makes a guy. And then Cody can just beat him for the championship. You know why they said that? Because it does not matter who Cody wins. It's about Cody's win, and that's a waste of this long dominant run of Roman Reigns. At this point, the only guy that I think this will make is Braun Breaker, because I believe in Braun Breaker in that Triple H sees something in him. So if Braun Breaker beats Roman Reigns and ends this run, and that's making a guy. Cody Rhodes doing it does not make anyone. That's why you go with the bigger money matchup, the matchup that's going to sell out a stadium at WrestleMania, and that's Rocky versus Roman.
And I believe me, I hear everything that you say, even though I don't necessarily agree with you. But for me, and maybe it's because this is my favorite event, right? Again, this all comes down to the Royal Rumble, because we saw how bad the Royal Rumble was treated last year and how it was basically meaningless by the time that, Elimination Chamber rolled around. Like, what do you do? Because if Roman Reigns is still your solo champion come WrestleMania, if I had the option between Rock or Rhodes, I'm choosing Rhodes, because if you're telling me that The Rock is just going to show up in January and win the Royal Rumble at age 52, 53, whatever the hell it is, he'll probably enter 30. He'll probably eliminate all of one. It just completely wastes the entire Royal Rumble, because Rock doesn't need that win. And again, this match doesn't need the championship, which arguably should be your biggest prize, right? The biggest draw of this. Now, I get it. It is the dream match. It's Rock. It's Roman. If you can do it in Los Angeles, you need to do it, which is why you got to take the damn title off of Roman Reigns. But if he's still going to be the damn champion, I would rather Rhodes get the shot. Because, again, if Roman is still champion, am I supposed to believe Rock is going to come in and beat him? No, he ain't doing that. Probably not going to beat Roman regardless. But if Roman has a championship, he damn sure ain't winning it. So to me, it's just like, oh, cool. Here's a match that I already know what the outcome's going to be. Roman's going to win. Cool. For me, I'm picking Rhodes.
Your argument is you don't want the Royal Rumble wasted, so you're going to waste a 2.5-year reign. Cool story, bro.
It's not a waste of the 2.5-year reign.
Yes, it is, because it's never nothing you said went against my point.
Who do you have beat Roman Reigns for that championship right now? Pick somebody.
Braun Breaker. I already said that.
My headphones unplugged. Sorry,
he wasn't listening. Thus loses this debate, ladies and gentlemen. You have to listen to win.
You all saw it on video. My headphones came unplugged because I stepped on the cord. I've done it 800 times in the 9 months that this program has been on. You all saw it. I tried real hard to get it back in real quick. I think Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens should be under consideration. I really, really do. But if I'm picking somebody, I'm picking Cody Rhodes. Last night on Monday Night Raw, championship rematch, I guess if you want to call it, for the women's tag team titles. We saw Damage Control capture the women's tag team titles, and then nothing. It was celebration. They got Pyro. Great. They're on EO. They're on Dakota. Cool. No Sasha, no Naomi, which was the only thing that we could think of that they were delaying that until after Clash at the Castle. And now I'm going, what the hell was the point in putting it on Raquel and Aaliyah in the first place, SP3? This is shock factor. That's it. Was it just, you all said it was predictable and it wasn't. So we're just going to put it back on them in 2 weeks.
We swerved you, bro. That the more things change in WWE, the more they stay the same. As soon as Sasha and Naomi didn't come out, I was like, well, that was a waste of 2 weeks. You think you just put over Raquel and Aaliyah, but you literally had them win and then spent the last 2 weeks telling me how much Aaliyah sucks, and then Aaliyah is the one who gets pinned. So literally, they're back at square one. Awful.
I'm not going to sit here and say that like Raquel and Aaliyah together was a total waste, because I will say the last couple of weeks, I think they have both looked the most comfortable on the main roster together as a tag team than they have since either one of them been there. And Aaliyah's been in there a long time, a lot longer than Raquel. I think Raquel is starting to heat up a little bit and pick things back up, and she looked great in the tournament. She looked great these last couple of matches. But yeah, the story with that tag team, it was always Aaliyah was the weak link. I just feel like they rushed that whole thing. Why did you have to do this match tonight? Why didn't you wait till Extreme Rules? Unless the plan is, of course, that you're putting the belts on Damage Control because they're going to be defending the championships at Extreme Rules versus Alexa Bliss and Asuka, which is, by the way, the only babyface women's tag team you have until Sasha and Naomi show up, which I guess is going to be at Extreme Rules. But who the hell honestly knows at this point? You do need to establish some new babyface tag teams. Do we really think Raquel and Aaliyah are going to continue to be a tag team after this? I don't.
Should they? No. Aaliyah needs to turn on Raquel almost immediately to get some type of heat, something out of this partnership. Aaliyah just comes off like a very green version of Carmella, and I'm pretty sure they've been wrestling for the same amount of time.
Steven saying Raquel heel turn, maybe. I wouldn't be mad at that if it is Raquel the one that turns heel, especially if we say it every week, but if you do bring Sasha and Naomi back, they're going to be two big baby faces, and they need to be on SmackDown where they were before they left. Raw has enough talent, which is something that we've talked about. So if you want to get another heel on the roster, yeah, sure, turn Raquel heel. Why not? I
don't think so, because Raquel has the opportunity to be the top baby face on SmackDown. The way things are going, I can see Ronda and Shayna being the top heels on SmackDown in a few months.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Ronda Rousey. She won a 5-way elimination match on SmackDown this past week. She is now the number 1 contender again. Literally a week after she talked about how she didn't want to be in the title picture because she wanted to elevate other stories that didn't surround the championships, didn't think that she needed a championship. I thought Sonya Deville, who's somebody that we saw just answer an open challenge to get a Raw Women's title match last night and then lose to Bianca, but at least that kind of closed the story on whatever rivalry they were having a few months ago. So at least
that's been closed. She won a 3-on-1 handicap match. What are we talking about?
At least it was something, right? At least there was some kind of story angle there last night. It didn't matter because it all was to set up Damage Control coming out. The opponent really didn't matter. So, hey, I'm all for Sonya getting more opportunities. I thought she would have been a good person to win the SmackDown Fatal 5-Way, but they weren't going to have her beat Ronda. So now we're setting up Ronda, who's abdicating for not being in the title picture. Now she's back in the title picture. So SP3, I'll ask you, true or false, Ronda Rousey losing at Extreme Rules would actually be beneficial for the women's division? Do you agree with Ronda's assessment?
This is a big time false. Ronda, this is not a big story to me because Ronda Rousey has said from the very beginning, during her first run, she was like she didn't think she needed to win the championship. She said that she needed to be a special attraction. When she came back at the Royal Rumble and did interviews after that, she was like she didn't think she should have won the Royal Rumble. She didn't think she should have won the SmackDown Women's Championship. Then there was the reports after Liv Morgan won the title that Ronda was the one who suggested it. But what we've seen since this experiment with Liv Morgan has went down is that WWE still can't book an underdog babyface. So Ronda Rousey winning the SmackDown Women's Championship at Extreme Rules is the best thing for this division. You put it on your hottest character in your division, and that's what Ronda Rousey is right now on SmackDown.
She is, and I don't think I'd be mad at it either way. I don't know how, because Liv is the only person who has beaten Ronda Rousey twice, right? Like that's her claim, but she hasn't really beaten Ronda yet. So WWE has an opportunity here to finally legitimately make Liv Morgan, who had a good match with Shayna Baszler, who beat Shayna Baszler clean as a sheet at Clash of the Castle in the UK. So that was a good step at getting Liv's title run cooking again, well, or at least period, because it got off to a very rocky start. Now it's starting to build some momentum. She's looking a little bit more comfortable as the champion. But man, ending it at Extreme Rules to Ronda Rousey, to me, when you have, look, I still think Charlotte is somebody out there that Liv should be feuding with. I don't know where Charlotte is. I don't know when Charlotte is coming back. She's just this big fish. Everybody talks about Sasha and Naomi coming back and how that might upset the apple cart and this, that, and the other thing. What happens when Charlotte comes back? Because are we going to put the title on Ronda Rousey just to go right back to Ronda and Charlotte again? Is that when Charlotte's going to come back? Because that's something I don't want to see. Give me Charlotte and Liv Morgan. I could go either way, but I do think that they do need to focus on more storylines. I understand what Ronda is saying. Focusing on more storylines, not surrounding championships. Personally, I'd love to see Ronda and Shayna in the tag team division, even though I know that would also center around a championship, but at least it's a different championship. I agree with Ronda, and yeah, I almost think that it would be true because when it comes to people like Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, who we know they're going to push whether they're in the title picture or not, it does create more opportunities all around.
Yeah, I think Ronda has been very vocal about creating opportunities for other people around her, but her winning the championship at Extreme Rules is going to put a spotlight on the most interesting thing about the SmackDown Women's division, which ain't Liv Morgan. You said the match at Clash was good. I said it was kind of just there. It was definitely the worst match on the show. So I don't think her holding on to the title to get to this matchup with Charlotte Flair. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy for Liv Morgan, for Charlotte Flair, for Liv Morgan fans. but I don't think we're going to get anything that memorable that is going to be worthy of us doing that, or is going to get WWE money. The reason why Roman Reigns has had the championship for 2 years is because WrestleMania in Hollywood was supposed to happen in 2021, not 2023. We're not holding on to the SmackDown Women's Championship on Liv Morgan for a match on with Charlotte Flair. That's going to probably be the third match on a premium live event, and ain't going to be moving a ticket.
I mean, aren't we supposed to be building new stars out here? You want to just are you just sitting here saying you're done with Liv Morgan's title run? You don't think it's going to work, and she ain't going to be able to grow?
I'm going based on the information I've been given, sir. What I've been given is that this regime don't like Liv Morgan that much and don't know how to book her that much. When Vince McMahon booked Liv Morgan better than you, it's time to move on.
Yeah. Kenny Williams saying you're correct. I think Ronda and Shayna should be in tag team matches. They're both not the best at single. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think they're both very good singles competitors, but I think they would be a really, really dominant tag team. But then it comes down to, okay, especially if Triple H books Shayna the way that Shayna used to be booked, Vince's Shayna is very easily beatable, and we've seen that. If Triple H gets Shayna heated back up to where she was, and then you have Ronda Rousey, who still ain't lost a match clean, damn, they would own the tag team division. And then it's like, okay, well, now how do you get the belts off of them? But again, that's a good problem to have, I think. Last night on Raw, it was kind of the Judgment Day show. It started and ended with Judgment Day once again, finally standing over tall on Edge, even though they haven't beat him in a match yet. But SP3 coming out of Clash at the Castle, I said they might as well be dead at this point, dead in the water, because you continuously have them lose over and over and over again to Edge, who was supposed to be the weak link in the group. But in a weird turn of events, the adding of Dominic Mysterio to the group seems to have elevated their status on the show, which is something I didn't think I would say, really, because it seemed like such an odd thing. But he was kind of the focus of all of Monday Night Raw last night, and he was in the main event against Edge, which I thought was one of his better matches in the last couple of years. What are we thinking here? Is the stock sharply increasing on Judgment Day now that Dominic Mysterio is there? I went from thinking this group was dead in the water because they can't get over on Edge, and now all of a sudden they're the focus of Monday Night Raw the last couple of weeks.
You know who was also the focus of Monday Night Raw when they were already dead in the water? Nexus. That's what Judgment Day feels like at this point. They lose every big match. They win a couple matches on Monday Night Raw, or they focus an episode of Monday Night Raw, and all you fans fall for it. You bite the bait. As soon as they put it out there for, oh my God, yeah, Judgment Day is back. They feel so much different. No! They're the same Judgment Day. It's a Finn Balor's wearing a freaking bandana like he's on Saints Row. No. Until they win a big match on pay-per-view, their stock ain't sharply increasing at all.
Can you explain to me that reference? Because I saw a bunch of people putting that out on Twitter.
Saints Row is a video game. It was on PlayStation, and it had a whole bunch of white boys in bandanas thinking that they was gangsters.
Cool. All right. Okay. Thank you for explaining that one. What did we think about Dominic Mysterio's performance and in his kind of transition here the last couple of weeks? He's still kind of like it's a weird thing, right? Because he's supposed to be stepping up as a man, but he's still clearly under Rhea Ripley's thumb here.
I think all this has really done is elevate. I think Rhea Ripley's stock has sharply increased, if anyone in Judgment Day has, because this has made her feel like the leader. But Dominic Mysterio is Dominic Mysterio. I mean, his promo wasn't that good. His match with Ez definitely wasn't that good to me.
It's weird.
He tried to do the Three Amigos, and he looked like he was trying to get up from bed. He looked like me trying to get up from bed.
There were moments, and it was so weird, right? Because like there were moments in that match where I'm like, okay, I see it, right? Like whatever WWE has seen in Dominic Mysterio to keep him around, right? Even though a lot of fans and a lot of people online have not been high on him. There were moments where I saw it, like his selling off the clothesline. Great. That counter from the spear into the half Boston Crab was spectacular. And I'm like, okay, I see I see Ray in there, right? Like I see the glimpses of something, but somebody that could be really good down the road. And then I also see, the three amigos. It's almost like to me, like he's just still timid. Like he's just afraid to cut loose and let loose. As Stone Cold would say, right? I still think he's thinking. He's thinking too much when he's out there instead of just relaxing and trusting his instincts. It's in his blood. We know it's there. Eddie's his real father for crying. No, I'm kidding. We know who, regardless of who his damn dad is, we know it's there. I think he just needs to let loose. Have Rhea pull the stick out of his ass or something. Like it's just, I just want to see him just go loose cannon because he still just feels like he's very going through the motions. But I did see the splashes last night as something that could be great. He's not there yet. He's still only been wrestling for 2 years. I think maybe he just needs more reps. I don't know. Growing up on television's hard, man. I'll say that much. It's very, very, very hard. Last but not least, SP3, we will know who will be challenging for the AEW World Championship at Arthur Ashe by the end of the night tomorrow. Got 2 semifinal matchups. Who would you like to see? What is your ideal world title finals? Who would you like to see come out of the semis tomorrow night on Dynamite?
I want to say the Battle of the Blackpool Combat Club. I want to see Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. I don't think there's any bigger matchup than that. I think that they've already done Jericho and Moxley just a couple of weeks back, so you can't go in that direction. Jericho and Sammy would be interesting, but it would be a lot more interesting if Sammy didn't already go back to the Jericho Appreciation Society. If they had months apart and then they're meeting in the finals, then it makes for a better story. I think Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara could be a great match, but that doesn't feel like the world title matchup or get additional seats for Arthur Ashe Stadium in the next week. I think this is the perfect matchup. Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. Moxley beating him at Revolution. Their partnership over the last 6 months since then. You got all the makings of a great main event.
Yeah, I'd love to see a fresh matchup here, but I if we're gonna get a rematch, right? Like, I'd rather see the Blackpool Combat because we just saw Mox and Jericho. So don't give me that. Even though I will say Jericho and Moxley have definitely both stepped up as huge leaders, both on screen and off screen in the last couple of weeks, especially since all of this has been going down in Chicago at All Out. Either one of them, I think, would be a great world champion, a great person to put the belt on. If you're looking for somebody to crown as the leader of your company, which I do think that this title win is kind of symbolic of that. It's like, hey, look, we were going to hitch our wagon to CM Punk. We can't do that no more. We need somebody to lead us out of this muck that's not just Tony Khan, right? We need somebody on screen to lead this company. You could do a lot worse than Chris Jericho or Jon Moxley. I think one of those two guys would be great. But if Jon Moxley's going on vacation, yeah, I think you got to go with Bryan Danielson. So if Bryan Danielson's going to be in the finals, it's going to be Jon Moxley. So give me that. And I think that will be the finals. I think Bryan Danielson will win in the finals, and then Jon can go on vacation in enough time to come back to the Cincinnati Dynamite on October 18th. We do appreciate everybody who has joined us here today. Steven saying Danielson is going to win the title. There was a lot of comments in here, guys. I did a terrible job at getting to them today. I do apologize, but SP3 and I argued a lot more than we have been in the last couple of weeks, which is great because that's what I wanted this show to be when we started. We've been agreeing too damn much recently. I love shows like this. I love getting fired up. I was tired as hell before I got on the air. Now I feel like I could run through a wall. I might go do that. I'll go walk the dog or something. We appreciate you guys. We will be back Thursday. Don't know what time yet. We kind of scheduled these things by the seat of our pants. We'll let you know. We'll be back talking about AEW Dynamite and any other news that may break this week. This has been the Bleav in Pro Wrestling Podcast Live Edition, brought to you by Bet Online.